What is up, my viewers? Spang here, bringing you a World of Tanks gameplay commentary. It is going to be one of my matches in the M48 Patton, the tier 10 American medium tank, and it is a standard battle on Arctic region. Right now, it is pretty evenly matched between teams. Both teams have pretty scary tank destroyers, the 183s, and the only exception in tier difference right now, well, the major exception is the fact the enemy has a tier 10 artillery while we do not. However, we do have two M53 55s, which are very potent tier 9 artillery pieces, and then the M40-43, which is alright, but the enemy team's tier 8 artillery is a Lorraine 155-51, which is not as good in my book. The enemy team also has about the same number of tier 9s, but parallel-wise, their Waffenträger tier 9 is matched up against our T28, so the enemy team having somewhat of an advantage, me going where typically faster vehicles go, which is to this northern area, in hopes of establishing a foothold of sorts, a defensive line, either on this hill or up against that mountain, right where you see that 1390 and where the 140 is also going. With artillery, you definitely want to be artillery safe, and that hill definitely provides that. So it gives you a good defensive position, makes it hard for the enemy team to push on you without exposing themselves to your artillery. And the enemy team sending a 140 to the south, I have actually started seeing a lot more medium tanks go to the south for the southern spawn, where the red team is currently located. Ever since they really changed that pathing down there, since they added those other flanking routes in that area right here, I'm going to look to see if I can get a shot on this lightweight, but our scout tank, I'm sorry, that is not a scout tank. I just assumed I saw a WZ. I'm like, oh, that must be a WZ scout tank. Nope, the heavy tank. He is quite exposed, and he has lost quite a bit of health because of it. Not sure that was a wise call, but it was certainly a ballsy move, and I mean, honestly, it might pay off. I cannot recall. These matches are so old. I mean, remember, these are 9.5, and 9.10 is around the corner. I'm trying to get through all these as quickly as possible, but life is definitely making it difficult, and with only one upload a day at the moment, it is certainly a daunting task, to say the least. This 268 pushing up, being really aggressive, but he knows that since he's at full health, that WZ is going to be in a world of hurt and struggle to survive. Got a shot off, but knowing I'm spotted, I don't want to hang around there any longer. And I'm going to look to see if I can go around this corner and get some better angles on him. The enemy team pretty much sending nothing to this northern corner. Our team solidifying their position there. The 103, the scout tank, the medium tanks, all pushing up just to put pressure on the enemy's forces. The enemy team sending quite a bit to the south there around that corner, and our team in a little bit of trouble. But I mean, if they didn't send them to the northern mountain area, I mean, it just makes sense they would send them to that southern pass. The T30 kind of getting a little bit lucky with RNG. There are a lot of shots fired at him, but not really any damage dealt. The WZ-111 finally dying, the 1-4, and the 268 still very much alive in that ditch. But I don't want to expose myself unnecessarily, trying to use this bush to outspot the T30, because let's face it, the M48 Patton has some of the best view range in the game. I mean, there are others. I believe the Leopard 1 is comparable, but this 704 out in the open, I'm not getting spotted, so I get free shots on him. It's just a matter of actually being able to hit. The Patton's gun, not exactly the most accurate of the medium tanks, especially not of the tier 10 mediums. And right there, I'm just telling my team, requesting fire, hey, let's knock out this 704. He's got a pretty a pretty impressive gun, a pretty threatening gun, and right now I'm starting to recognize our team's terrible position in the fact that we have completely lost that southern pass and the enemy is pushing into our base. So right now I'm going to reposition and pretty much just take the shortest route possible to try and get back to our base without exposing myself too unnecessarily. We got only the T28 on that corner, and I figure, you know what, rather than try and pull up around the southern edge of that mountain where I'll be exposed to possible artillery shenanigans, I should probably move up and support T28, but I'm weighing it back and forth, and apparently I decide, again, old match, tough to remember exactly what I do, but I decide better to risk it and try and make something happen. Besides, the enemy artillery is pretty much dealing with the threat of we're on their base as well. So this could very easily end up being a base race, as it were. This Conqueror gonna pretty much make himself very exposed to me. The Conqueror, very good solid gun platform, and it has been buffed since the 9.5 patch. Its turret armor is vastly improved, but the fact of the matter is its strongest strength, its strongest strength, if you can, if you prefer to phrase it like that, I feel like I could have worded it better, is the fact that its gun handling is absolutely amazing. Its rate of fire is great. Its DPM is awesome for a heavy. It is just an all-around great gun platform. This IS-7 pushing up, and I bounce off him. However, he has no trouble bouncing off me. The M48 Patton, for the record, now has its HD model and has been upgraded to an extent. Its armor is a bit more troll now, but it is certainly not anywhere near reliable. And this IS-7 is certainly going to be an easy kill for me, as long as I can get some good shots in him. Right now, he's doing a pretty good job of going pull down, and I'm quickly whittling away my hit point advantage, taking pretty large unnecessary risks. Well, unnecessary, not really sure I could call it that, because I need to get resets on the base. I need to make something happen here, and I recognize right now that the person with all of the enemy team's capture points is that ST1, the STI, who is currently hanging back on the other side. So I'm going to meet up with my 140 ally and try and flank. Not to mention, he has some hit points. He can definitely tank that shot better than I can, and he also has a bit better armor, a bit more reliable. This ST1 certainly going to be in a world of hurt here. The 140 has an easy kill on him, but the artillery, the M40-43, who has managed to stay alive throughout this entire ordeal, has definitely taken that kill. Right here, I'm trying to be sneaky around. I don't want to drive all the way around these rocks. I want to hug this mountain as much as I can. I find myself a way through and just continue to support my 140 ally as we close in on this M103. The largest threat to our team right now. Sure, tanks or even hit points are not, however, there's no enemy artillery, so we're going to use that to our advantage at this point. And the largest threat, as I was saying, is that 183, who can easily one-shot everything left on our team as long as he lands a shot, and is firing. Honestly, he should probably be firing armor piercing and just hope for a high roll on that 140 rather than be firing Hesh and risk the high explosive damage actually not connecting for all that much, for doing a low roll. At this point, I'm going to see if I can abuse yet again my great view range. Apparently I did not need it, as the 140, I'm sorry, the 140 in the back tried to take a shot at me, but the 183 was right underneath me, and I see a chance to shoot the 140 for a pretty even trade there. 342 damage to me and 410, right? Was it 410? Yes, 410 to him. So a bit of a high roll, my average damage being 390, and a bit of a high roll for him as well, his average damage being 320. Certainly that 103, there's a 183 and a 103 both coming around on me. This 140 in a world of hurt, my ally not sure he's going to survive. That 183 has it out for him, and he will fire Hesh, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. He low rolled because he hit tracks or whatever. Hesh with that tank is very unpredictable, and the 103 is now dead because, I mean, he's fighting two mediums, one in the front, one in the back, and it's just not going to happen. Right here, I'm going to get a free shot off on this 183 and then back up ever so cautiously. Now, the thing to keep in mind about the 183, yes, it has a turret per se, but the turret has a very, very limited range of motion. You have to turn the tank. You cannot have anywhere near a, I forget what the actual angles are, but you do not have anywhere near a full turret rotation. And right here, that saving my life, barely. That track damage right there, the 140 probably cursing RNG right now for allowing me to live, especially after I threw away some of my hit points coming down that hill. And at this point, I'm like, you know what? We're both one-shots for each other, most likely. What was his actual health? It was 300 something. Yep, 383. So I've got to get a solid average roll, you know, for 390 in order to guarantee a kill, and that's really relying on RNG a lot. But he has a guaranteed one shot on me, and running over some trees, hoping he's not running any hacks that let him know I'm running over those trees. But we can never be sure who is truly hacking and who is not in this game. But the 140 coming to where I was last located, and I'm trying to abuse that. I'm spotted, so I fall back, try and wait for loss of spotting, and it looks like the mod was incorrect. He's at 344, which improves my chances of one-shotting him a little bit more, or perhaps he lost some hit points on a fall. But right here, I'm going to pop up, take the final kill, and get 4 kills, over 4,800 hit points of damage, and really just flanking a whole lot that game. Flank and fire, that's what you got to do with these medium tanks. A little bit more difficult in the Patton, considering its mobility isn't quite as good as the other mediums, but still, as I just showed, good enough. But let's go to those post-game stats and see how we all racked and stacked. Alright, pretty much earning exactly what I expected to earn, a high caliber with that amount of damage dealt. Not super impressive, but certainly a carry nonetheless. I mean, when I think super impressive, I think 6,000, 7,000 and up for damage, but just under 5,000, I'll give it, you know, I'll call it for a well-played match. Fire 4 effect, definitely, and Fighter, destroy 4 or 5 enemy vehicles in one battle, earning Mastery Badge First Class. Not quite an ace tanker match, but, oh, I forgot, I had some blind fires on that 704 and that T30, so I actually did over 5,400 damage, and the closest competitor on the enemy team was that Stud Muffin 140, and no, I'm not throwing compliments or flirty sort of words at his way. He is, that is actually his clan. STUMU is Stud Muffin. So victory's mine, not this time, my friend. And the closest competitor on my team to my damage was that 140, who definitely was an MVP as well. He earned a medal also, okay, defender, because he shot that STI. Got it. And the WZ looking like he actually surprisingly did not die horribly before he could do anything, surprisingly being actually quite effective. R183 having a shameful display about, I mean, come on, man, you're a 183. It's like, I don't even do... The 183, let's put it, comparison-wise, is kind of equivalent to a Yogzilla, but British, and it has Hesh. So you can guarantee damage. Yeah, it's pricey to drive, but he was on that kind of southern pass area, and he had enemy tanks literally funnel into his gun sight. So, I mean, how many shots did he fire? He only fired 1 shot before he died. Come on, man. I could have easily played much more effectively than him, although I say that ignorant of what actually happened there. I wasn't there. I didn't see what happened. Maybe he just got really screwed over by RNG, got shelled by an artillery piece, although granted, he probably shouldn't have been exposing himself to artillery, but again, I cannot say what happened. Maybe he got ammo racked after that 1 shot. It's hard to say. I mean, I tend to be really judgmental of people when they get 0 damage, but I mean, let's face it, we've all been there one match or another. It happens to everyone at least once, and it's hard to say exactly why it does, when it does, unless you are the one driving that tank. But enough rambling about that. The 183 on that enemy team certainly performing very well, as well, in fact, outperforming in terms of damage my 140 ally. But there really a solid performance between both teams. You know, both teams had their MVPs, but everyone really kind of pulled their weight, with the exception of a surprisingly few number of you know, players. It's good to see good close matches. Honestly, I'm too tired of just World of Tanks games where it's completely one-sided and it's not really entertaining at all because everyone else is taking kills, and it's hard for anyone to get a good amount of damage or a good amount of kills, and it's just over too quickly, and it's not as fun when it's actually well fought. So 21 shots fired, 19 direct hits, and sadly only 15 penetrations. That's a pretty poor penetration ratio, but it was enough for this match, and over 2,100 from a distance of 300 meters or more. Hits received 7, and 3 of those non-penetrating. When I say this thing has troll armor, it truly does. But you should never rely on it. It's not like a 140, where if you're hulled down in a 140 and all you're showing is your turret, you can expect it to bounce. That's not going to happen. That is not the M48 Patton. So damage blocked by armor 800, certainly one of the reasons I was alive to carry our team to victory. Enemy vehicles damaged and destroyed 8 and 4. And due to my assistant's 916, I wasn't even aware of that, distance traveled pretty considerable, over 3.5 kilometers, and when all was said and done, barely made profit, but that's because of consumables and actually, nope, I lied, not because of consumables, only because of vehicle repair and ammo cost, but getting a decent amount of experience as well. Still, just showing the value of flanking and firing. If I had stayed where I was and did not reposition to a better flank position, one where I thought I could catch the 140 off guard, then I easily would have died to him. And that is very much so a key factor in this game, a key pillar of gameplay. It is, you know, recognizing when you need to reposition in any sort of vehicle, tank destroyers, heavy tanks, artillery, anything. It's just so many players are like, well, I'm gonna die, but I'm gonna make my last stand here. I can't. It's like they don't even think to try and move to a new location. And in some cases, they're right. There is nowhere else they can go. They're just gonna die horribly no matter what. But in a lot of other circumstances, if they just fall back, move to a different flank, you know, reposition anywhere else, they'll have a better chance of survival and doing a lot more damage before they actually end up dying, if they even die. So, flank and fire, kind of a key tenet of mine, but I feel I've rambled on long enough. That's going to do it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you got a replay you think I should do a commentary on, there are instructions in the description below. Also in the description below are other ways to follow and support my channel. But what's it? This has been Spang, and clearly I am just oh so professional. Until next time, my viewers.
MLG Dynamo!